Okay, I'm teary. I'm teary-eyed. I'm sorry. I didn't see this, so I'm literally just seeing the whole season preview with you, Jahmaal, and it is beautiful. Thank you so much, Dan. Hold on here. Hold on. Um, okay, here we go. We are going to get centered, and I am going to take a few breaths as I tell everybody else to do so that I could be here and present with you. Okay, thank you so much, Dan. Woo! Glad I'm here on opening season 2 with you, Jahmaal. How are you?
I'm blessed. I was watching the introduction, and I'm just so proud of you. It's been 2.5, maybe nearly 3 years, and just watching what you've blossomed into and the impact you're having that actually goes beyond the career, that goes beyond the work, that goes beyond the systems, the processes, the revenue, but cuts to the person. I'm thrilled. Maybe
Ah, yeah,
it's
it
always
might have
hard to
been.
trace back, you know.
I'd have to go I'd have to go back and look. And it's a friendship that we have that's on and off screen. So, we support each other when in the middle of the night when I'm need somebody to talk to and vice versa. So it's not just a, "Hey, we got each other online." It is both. Hi, Mike. How are you? Trying to get myself
Like
trying to get myself
Mike,
together. Oh,
some rock
okay.
stars here.
Whew, we have rock stars in the building. That's right. So I think what's important for people to know is you and your work. If people don't, please go follow, hit that bell, and go and look at some of Jamal's work. So it is important for me on this journey of healing and wellness. You're a huge piece because of many different facets for myself and then for everybody that has connected with you. One, because of your background in counseling, this is truly the work that you do. But in addition to that being the profession that you have chosen to put on and step into, it's also your being. You exude wellness, you exude healing, you exude standing in your purpose and continuing to be on that path. So, for those of you out there that do not know Jahmaal, I think it's important for Jahmaal just to take a few moments so that everybody has an understanding who he is and what his path is now, and how you can help support and actually how you have been supporting throughout the years. So I am going to put myself on pause so that you can share that with everybody.
What a wonderful lead. And I just want to say, listen and speak. I know for all of us, when it comes to business, when it comes to branding, we're all thinking about what's my name going to be? How do I brand it? What are the colors? But what I'm really grateful for, and my faith is important to me and grateful to God about, is that listen and speak is not just the name of the podcast, the name of the LLC. It's my life on and offline. It's something that I practice when it comes to mental health, when it comes to wellness, when it comes to race relations, when it comes to politics, all of those facets. It listening before speaking and cutting through and actually examining a matter before I tackle it. And so, one of the many things that I do in counseling is actually helping clients establish boundaries. A lot of times, I did a post the other day. It's called "Boundaries in Name Only," and any of us can come on and say, "I agree. I 100% agree." But how are these boundaries actually making their way into your private life and in your personal life? The way you deal with management, the way you manage yourself, the way you manage your direct reports, the psychology behind the way you think. And what I love doing with clients is actually, unlike a coach who takes them forward, it's like, no, we got to go back a little bit because you don't even understand your own human behavior and the reason you're showing up this way. You're showing up this way because there are parts of your heart and your mind that are not healed. There are traumatic experiences or experiences that are stockpiled that we actually need to tackle so we can actually get you some proven and sustainable results. I don't want you to waste $7,000 to $8,000 at a Tony Robbins conference hugging everybody, and then you get just band-aid solutions, and the trauma is still there, and you're still showing up the same way. We want to actually dig to the root so that the fruit can take care of itself. So we know that people pleasing, perfectionism, procrastination, codependency, these are all those kissing cousins when it comes to that. And so we want to tackle that. And it's going to get a little ugly. It's going to get messy, but the healing process is messy. You go to any doctor, you get a tourniquet, a brace put on. It's going to be messy. And so I love the work I do one on one from a consultant standpoint, going into either small or large businesses and actually dealing with the psychology of the team. We know from a management standpoint, and we seen that article, what, about 4 months ago, with people trying to get rid of middle management, which I feel is ridiculous. It's like L2 and C-suite people, you still have to manage their direct reports. But this area gets hell from the top and also from the bottom. And a lot of times these managers just wanted to be SMEs. They just wanted to be subject matter experts in their area. But they were raised up. The path to promotion is what? Management. And so a lot of times they're managing people who were once, their cohorts. And so it's like, well, how are you to manage me? And we were on the same team. And then also when different people come onto the team, they haven't managed their own psychology to know how to manage them in a way that moves the needle forward. So you have the highest rate and amount of turnover on these teams because people forget you bring you through the door. You bring your psychology, your family history, your addictions, your patterns, your belief systems. And unlike any consultant that can come in there with some quiz and just throw Enneagram at you, it's like, let's actually get behind the root of how you are thinking and what you are believing. Because no matter what you say, what you believe is going to be the greatest indicator of your habits and what you do. And from the podcast, I'm bringing folks on, whether you're career, entrepreneur, best-selling authors, whether you're a millionaire, and I want to know about your journey. I want to know about you as a person, your culture, your ethnicity, your race, your faith, or lack thereof. I have people from all different backgrounds. What makes you holistically you? What are the highs and lows? And so those are just a few of the things. And public speaking, obviously going in as a consultant or also going in from a conflict resolution standpoint, sharing some of my background and my story. Came from a very abusive household. And so I thought every person had some X factor except me. And I could not predict. It was my dad, before everything healed between the two of us. And so I ended up doing a lot of overachieving, a lot of people pleasing. And that showed up the way that I dated, the partners I chose, how I worked, how I was always the first one to come to work, last one to leave, didn't advocate for myself, left money on the table, left tons of time on the table. And I just hate to see anyone waste all the time that I wasted, especially for those who are high earners. Um, I hear the S word so much in consultation. And it's just like, oh, you make all that money, but you want to commit suicide. I want you to actually enjoy the revenue that you make. So now I'll pause because I think that was a mouthful.
Okay. It was a mouthful that we needed to eat. Okay. And we needed to eat it because it's important that people know exactly what you're doing. And one of the things that stuck out to me was we have to get to the root to bear the fruit. That's the reality. And there's lots of us walking around that are wounded, and we keep dressing those wounds up and wearing different things thinking that it's going to wear the wound down, and we're not addressing the actual wound, which doesn't really help us. And you have taken time to heal yourself, and that is why obviously it is easier for you to help, and because you're trained obviously with your professional background in addition to doing it, and knowing that people, I keep telling people, they're losing their pieces of their spirit,
Mm-mm.
and they're sitting in silence and suffering and sacrificing so much beauty and stressed out because they're not taking their time to sit with themselves and to truly say, okay, I need to do this for me. I need to heal, because then the world is limitlessness, and you can be taken to leaps and bounds that you never even maybe possibly dreamed were even possible.
Mic drop for you. I love the way you highlighted the need to heal, and I see Shara there, who is another rock star in the counseling realm, down in the
Yeah.
comments. But the fact is that when we don't heal those wounds, we set ourselves up. We feel like with our armor, we are setting ourselves up, but we were actually setting ourselves up to trip over our own shoestrings, because that begins to color the way we interact. It begins to color the way we do our profession. It colors the way we network. Sometimes when you come to a person and they automatically have their armor on, it's like, oh no, you're not so big and bad. You're not so tough. You're just wounded.
Mhm.
And if you think about the I word that's being used so heavily on LinkedIn and many professional platforms, I'm not saying there aren't people who don't have an introverted disposition, but before you were messed up, before you had that traumatic event or those series of events, you were everywhere. You were all over the place, and now all of a sudden you're an introvert. No, boo boo. I'm gonna say like DC words. You just haven't been healed. You're just wounded, and that is your armor saying that you're an introvert. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people who are. I'm more of an ambivert, but you know me. I'm more introverted leaning. That's a part of
Mhm.
my personality. But I also do like to be around people. Just I have limited energy with that. But people are claiming that word who really aren't that because their heart is wounded and they're, naturally, if you think about from a chemical standpoint, our brains will protect us. You often
Correct.
see me out in the forest, out in the woods. Obviously, if there's a snake, I'm going to capitulate, so that I can protect myself so I don't get bitten. Good thing about the snakes around here is that they go away from you. They don't come to you. But those where we've been bitten, where we've been wounded, where we've been scarred, we will go away from that thing and we will
Mhm.
find ways called those defense mechanisms to protect ourselves from ever feeling that hurt again. And unless we dig to the root of that and actually get into the weeds down to the core, we continue to develop habits that actually are a quicksand of our own making. We make our own glass ceiling and wonder, why am I shutting myself down? You don't even see it's you in your own way.
Mhm. And a huge piece of that is the mind. The mind controls everything that we do, everything that we envision that we could do. And if you haven't uncovered the rubble, that's what I look at it as. We are human beings, we were here, and we get covered. Our foundation gets covered with all these wounds. And we have to uncover ourselves from that rubble to clear the foundation that we once were. And it is an unlearning and it's a healing process. And it's, are you going to take the time to be able to actually sit and see what spaces, what faces, what beliefs aren't serving you? Are you truly standing in your values? Maybe there's people around you who you might want a question of, this isn't serving me anymore, and wishing the people well and positivity, and at the same time holding space for you and your own growth. So if we look at that, I know one of the things we always ask the guests, this is something we did in season one when we were carrying it, is the quotes. And I know you well enough, but I don't know if the people in the audience know you well enough. The quote that you chose, that you said, okay, this one is sitting with me. And as you told us before when we got on, sitting with you way before the pandemic even occurred, a decade or more before the pandemic was here. Knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. So, the question on your healing journey, because you too have had wounds, what is in relation to that and the own listening for your own wisdom that helped you to heal and center your wellness from all the stuff that you have personally had to live through?
I'm going to use the P word and not the entrepreneurial one that we all use, which is pilot. Of course, that's huge in entrepreneurialism, if that's a real word. But pause, to
Mhm.
actually pause and to examine how am I processing intel here. Um,
Yeah.
and when I say knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens, my faith is important to me. There's a proverb that says, "A foolish man utters his heart, but a wise man keeps it till afterwards." And when I'm uttering all my heart, all I want to say, all I want to get out,
Mhm.
um, I'm not exactly processing what is coming at me. There's also in that same proverb, it says, "A fool has no delight in understanding, but only in expressing his own heart." And if you think about now, especially in 2023, us being in the age of information, there is so much intel, so much content, so much stuff coming at us. Are we
Mhm.
sitting with and processing, how am I curding through this? And how am I to execute upon what I am receiving? And do I even need to receive it? And so, even
Mhm.
before the pandemic, it's okay, Jahmaal, are you speaking more than you're listening? And when you're listening, are you listening for specific clues? And how are you to process this in light of your hurt, in light of your trauma, in light of who you are, in light of who you are becoming? Are you actually taking the time? And as Westerners, I don't know who, we have a lot of different people on here, but here in the West, we just rush from one thing to another. We love the high achieving. You see high achievers all over LinkedIn. And it's just like, well, are you actually taking the time to listen and to examine a matter in its totality so that you can execute effectively? Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm. I agree. I don't think enough of us pause, and add another word, savor. There are so many beautiful things we as human beings are being, doing, or accomplishing. And we're running on the track of I don't know where we're going to the next thing to accomplish, to get, to be, not stopping and savoring and pausing, as you're saying, the beautiful things that we just accomplished, that we just did, that we just evolved to, the spaces we got to sit in, the faces we were able to share space with and listen to. And I think that's important of I don't know how even some of these organizations are operating. No wonder why people are stressed out, and we're in the middle of a stress epidemic of literally back to back to back to back meetings. So organizations right now are even set up of nope, we're not giving you a pause. You can't even have a pause to think through what everybody just said, or hey, there's no time to even do what we gave you as tasks or items on the agenda because we're not pausing. Okay. So I know you, and if people know you, they know that you go for a lot of walks. You appreciate going out for walks in nature. And I am assuming that nature and the walks that you go on for many miles sometimes are at least sometimes, not all the time, that gives you a point to pause, to reflect, to listen to your heart or the other things that have come in to you from others too. Is that true? And what do you find when you go for your walks?
Oh, you're spot on with that. I do want to just say, right when you were talking about the office and how we go from meeting to meeting, you just snatched the wigs of all project managers. But we'll get back to that. That may be another live for another time. um, but definitely when I'm out walking, obviously as a career person, as an entrepreneur, as someone who runs their own business, it's only so many hours in a day. So I have to make sure I'm up early. But that is where I get centered. That's where I get centered with one, my faith, the God of my creation, who made me, who understands me through and through at every frequency. And also where I can pause and just listen to nature, but also listen to and process what were the things that happened yesterday? What happened last night? What's happened throughout the week? If I can get to a very sizable branch, or a tree trunk, how can I sit and journal and just kind of pause and curd through and understand what that matter was, even if it was something negative that happened. How can I process this and understand, like, what is my place, in this, and what is it God trying to show me? I often say, from a faith-based standpoint, you remove psychology, remove the counseling, remove the consulting. What is God using this situation, and how is he using it to extract a part of my old nature out of me, and in a ways to impart his new nature into me? We're all in the process of evolving, like you said, and becoming, but we have to be intentional about it. Just like I've lost 31 pounds, I've had to be intentional about eating right and going into the gym the same way. We all see the word change. There's a lot of people, you and I have seen in the last 3 years, people have changed. Some of us have a little bit of laugh lines around our face now, and maybe some wrinkles, but growth is a choice. I choose to grow, and I have to be intentional about that. And with clients, are you going to choose to grow? Change is inevitable. Anybody can change, and sometimes for the worst. And you and I have seen that as well. But will you choose to grow?
Will you choose to grow? And it also makes me think of the forest. If you look at all the beautiful trees and the growth, because if you literally take pictures in that forest 1 year and a year forward, the growth that the trees are making and the birds and the animals in the forest is obviously inevitable too. And at the same time, yes, how are you choosing to be intentional? I think that's the word that comes to mind. It's the intentionality with choosing to grow. Impermanence is a given. That is a truth of life. And at the same time, growth is a choice. So, if we want to talk about, you give beautiful talks to many different people for many different reasons, and in talks in public to help many people on their own journeys. And I know you've done talks in the past, and you have probably plenty of talks coming up too. Thank you, Dan. This is Jamal's website. So what do you say? I'm sure you have a plethora of talks that you really appreciated. But name one talk that you've really appreciated that you have done in the past, and something that somebody said from you that they took away from your talk that really resonated with you and continuing on your growth and on this journey.
I would say last year around this time, I did the Year Man conference with Elise Neal, and she's a female, but she coaches all men. And
Okay.
she had me do a single session and also a panel session. And so I actually shared my story, shared about my childhood, shared about the drugs, the drinking, shared about the promiscuity, shared about the pornography, just all of those things that made Jahmaal what he was back then, and
Mhm.
also what Jahmaal did in the process of 7 months of counseling, thousands of investing in my own healing journey, investing in my faith, really being intentional about my healing, and also the things that happened between my dad and I. And so the weird thing is that created a lot of inbound leads and quite a few clients because people said, "Oh, I can relate. I see myself in that." Not just men, but also females as well. These are real issues that plague people. I think we think, "Oh, I'll just get over it. I'll just pick myself up by my own bootstraps." Sometimes you don't
Mhm.
have any bootstraps because those things have been burned away. And so I would say doing that talk was really huge, and being that transparent and being that vulnerable and putting that stuff out there. It's like, well, once it's out there, it's out there. And my story is my story. It's like I wouldn't have written it that way. But I
Mhm.
was chosen to actually carry the weight of that in the very valleys, the dark valleys that I've come from have been the mountains that I can now serve other people from. So super grateful
Right.
for that.
And I know this coming month is a big month for us because it's Mental Health Awareness Month coming up May. Okay. Yeah. Yes. We love mental. I love mental health. There's certain months that I love, and Mental Health Awareness Month is one. Obviously, we're super passionate. We know the stats and the data because we talk about this often of there's more people that have diagnosed mental health illness. There are more people and organizations that are aware. Okay, how are we going to be preventative and proactive instead of reactive? So that's a beautiful thing that has come through the last 3 years too. So if people wanted to book you to talk about all things Jahmaal, whether that's counseling or Jamaal's personal life, they can go to your website. And do you still have dates open that they could have you come and speak or do workshops?
Yes. So for the consultation link, that's actually on the consultant page. You can go to that and you can kind of just list out what the issue for your organization may be. And then we'll have kind of a one on one and just decide what does that look like for you. Obviously, we'll discuss a contract for pricing. We don't operate in the frequency of free here. Uh, and then we'll go for it from there. And then they can also find me on Ovations. That's a good way to book me to come in, and later this summer in June, I'll actually be working through an organization, a booking organization, and that link will be coming in the month of early June. Specifically, if you want me to come and to speak, I will be more than happy to talk to you and your staff, whether small business or whether a large organization.
Okay. Is there certain signature topics that you prefer or that you have had numerous people ask you for?
Definitely conflict resolution. It's
Mhm.
weird when it comes to DEI because I have some very controversial thoughts about DEI and what's happening in the certification process. How everybody's grabbing up certifications, but they haven't lived it. So,
Mhm.
if you want to talk to someone who is culturally nuanced, who actually knows what they're talking about, who has lived it, and who also has been the only, I don't want to say person of color because everyone's of color, but quote unquote, for lack of better rhetoric, in an all white organization and knows how to navigate those spaces and actually come out on top. If you really want somebody real who is not even DEI certified but knows what they're doing, and that can get you some results, please holler at me. So I would say when it comes to cultural nuance, when it comes to conflict resolution, when it comes to boundaries, I recently have partnered with the app Tiger Hall. Boundaries between managers and employees, but also boundaries in manager psychology themselves. A lot of managers and even C-suite executives don't understand their own psychology. Um, so going in and doing that, I love being able to not just have those talks, but to actually give practical and applicable solutions. And through Tiger Hall, later, actually earlier in the summer, we'll be coming out with an ebook. So I'm really excited about that.
Hey, there we go. That's exciting. Okay, okay. So we have so many beautiful things to celebrate, and I know we're coming to a quick close. It's gone. How did it go by so quickly? Um, and I know you're all about giving practical tips of something people could take away now and put into action because a lot of times that's what people want um, to take because maybe they can't hire, maybe they're saying, I can't do it right now. And still, right now is important for them because they might be sifting through how do I grow? I am facing challenges in their own wellness or with their own healing. So, what would be a few suggestions that you would choose to say, I'm going to give these 2 or 3 points of things that I have seen that would be helpful to people, whether it's from your own personal lived experience or from working with clients?
I would say first, examine a matter before making decisions. And I know that's like, well, how do I do that pragmatically? Um, Look for where there is reciprocity. That is a great sign of mutual benefit. And where there's no reciprocity, just ask yourself, I'm going to say this very practically and very crass. Am I giving a king's feast and receiving bones and biscuits? So,
Mhm.
and I know we see the word give without expectation, but a lot of times that can put, especially those who are empaths, in that place where they just feel like they're always giving, giving, giving. And then you hit a wall and then you're left with resentment. And so look for where there's reciprocity because that's a really good sign of where you're called to be and where you want to continue to take space and redeem your time.
Mhm.
I would say that's one. And second, practically, don't be afraid to therapy is good. I meet with
Mhm.
clients one on one. That's the highest ticket offer, outside of consulting and public speaking. Um, See someone who actually has been there. These days, everyone's a coach. After COVID hatched so many coaches. Anyone can go on LinkedIn for 3 weeks and get a certification, but you want somebody who their why is attached to what they've lived because they'll have more. They'll be able to speak with a measure of authority where they're coming from, and know how to walk with you and sit in some deep waters with you. And I want to say that especially to people of color, a lot of times from a cultural standpoint, they'd be like, "Well, I don't want to be in therapy." There's a stigma attached to that. Uh, don't be one of those ones who has self-deleted because you
Mhm.
were afraid of the stigma. I'll leave that there.
Mhm. Mhm. That's good. That is good. Don't self delete. Yeah, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit, and we have to be the ones to break the barriers and the reels that were created before us, or we'll keep staying in that matrix. You have to get out of the loop, and if you're not going to break it, then who? We're going to wait another generation for somebody else to break it. That's what it is.
Speaking
It's not,
facts.
it's not easy. Okay. There's been so much love in the chat. I'm trying to balance being present here with you and looking over at the side too. Um, so thank you for everybody for coming. And
Thank you all.
what, right? There's so much love, seriously. What are the last few things that you would like to say as we wrap up? If you have to pour something into people to take away, to have them go for a walk in the forest and savor and listen, what would be those last final words or and a last final question?
I would say, and I know this is going to sound a little morose, and so I'm not trying to Black Jordan Peterson, y'all, but I know we're very present, we're in the moment, and we should be. But Kobe has a quote that I love that says, "Begin with the end in mind." And so
Mhm.
think about when you're coming to the end of those days, when maybe you're in your early 80s, early 90s, or whatever like that. Should you be around that long, do what you can.
Yeah.
If I had an epithet on my grave, one of them, I probably have multiple ones, but one of them would say he did what he could. And there's just going
Mhm.
to be things, parent wise, career wise, job wise, relationship wise, community wise, that you cannot do. You are not meant to put out every fire. Don't put that pressure on yourself. And if you need help working through why you continue to do that and remain in that pattern, there are those of us who are here for you. So
Mhm. That's beautiful. Thank you. Begin with the end in mind. I always say that. And people are like, that's so morbid. I'm like, that's so real. Because as much as we would love to say we're going to be here, I am not going to be here in flesh on this earth forever. And I keep trying to remind people that on our deathbed or after we have passed, when people come talk about people, they're never talking about, hey, he was a millionaire. Hey, he had an awesome car. Hey, he took fabulous trips. It's always things in relation to people's character, and even they've did the studies have been done with people who are on their deathbed and dying of what did I regret about my life? And it was simplicities of not spending enough time with loved ones or working too much. There are certain things that I think we're taking for granted on a daily basis and forgetting, did I sit with what my purpose is?
Hmm.
You know?
I'm sitting right now while you're talking. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
These are things to ponder.
So many things to ponder. All right. So I appreciate you. I love you so much on this platform professionally, but personally too.
Likewise.
You're a beautiful human being. I
Thank you.
hope all of you will follow, hit the bell for Jahmaal, listen, then speak like he is asking you to do, because you will learn so much about yourself and you will go on this healing journey probably a little faster pace. And thank you for being here on the opening of the season. Everybody else, we hope you stay healthy, be mindful, and be well. Talk to everybody soon. Thanks so much, Dan. So, we want to talk about this?
We are not done yet. Sorry about that, everyone. So one of the new segments that we're going to be doing this season is the Pitchfork Speaker Spotlight. Pitchfork is a company run by Kimberly Sanderson, who is a dear friend to both Future and I. And this is really going to be an opportunity for Future and I to talk to you about where you could see us as well as the guests next. Uh, so, Future, I'll let you kick it off and then I'll take over. And this will be a 2 minute segment, um, if needed, at the end of each week's show.
Okay, thank you. So there's two things. Obviously, Dan and I do a lot of different things with speaking. A lot of stuff I can't put on because it's internal workshops for organizations and it's not open to the public. So the things that are open to the public are the things that we will put on the speaker spotlight. And just for everybody that is out there, if you live in Arizona, hit me up. I'm going to be in Arizona May 7th through 9th for the Mom 2.0 Summit. I'm so excited. Why? Because I'm a mom. And I keep saying a huge piece of the work that I'm doing is because I'm planting seeds that I know I may never sit under the shade of when they grow, but it's for my kids and my unborn grandchildren. The other thing that everybody could take advantage of, because I know some people might not fly to Arizona to go to a Mom 2.0 Summit, is Thursday, May 25th. It is free, and I will actually put the link. It is something that the state of Wisconsin does. It's the Pre-Summer Institute, and there are some heavy hitters during this particular day. It's all day. You just have to sign up and register. And like I said, it is free. And you probably want to look at the other things that they do, Equity Connect, because they're doing some amazing things and bringing in some amazing speakers for a lot of people to learn and apply the knowledge so that all of humanity could be well. Dan, passing it over to you.
So, first of all, great first show, Future. For those that don't know, I was working on everything leading seriously up to about half an hour ago. Uh, I'm glad that you appreciated the intro. Nothing I do will ever make me feel like I've done right by you, but I was pretty happy with it. So for me, I got two things that are coming up. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to be live speaking about my path to being a keynote speaker, uh, what that looked like, the strategy behind it. We're going to be talking about things like what speaker assets are, how you build a base, and then overcoming the fear of being on stage. Then I'm really so then the thing that everybody can participate in, and there is this like small cost to it, but it's not major, is on May 5th. I'm participating in the second annual 2023 Women's Virtual Leadership Conference. Last year I was the only male that was asked, much less white male that was asked to participate. This year, I am back. I'm super, super excited because I get to be part of an event with Pamela Roberts, who is the president of the National Association of Federally Employed Women.
Mm.
That's a very, very, very big deal for me. Anybody that knows me personally and knows what my wife does, you're going to understand why. But I'm excited to be there. And then more and more speaking events will come forward. Now, the last thing I want to say before we go to our close, what you're going to notice I'm still working on is if you are somebody that's looking to speak, if you're looking to be participating in events, podcasts, or otherwise, definitely reach out to Christina Sanderson. Pitchfork is an amazing resource for those that are looking to dive in. She does great work with her associates, Banna and otherwise, and just the opportunity to be part of an organization run by a young Black female entrepreneur. Um, it's in your words, it fills your heart.
Yeah.
So, any last thing to say before we go to the outro?
No, I'm just hoping everybody sat in happiness and joy for the season 2, and I just appreciate everybody being back here and allowing us to take the time to pause and revamp.
See everybody next week. The outro will be a little bit different next week, but for now, let's go to it.